Have you ever noticed how the more you try to prove yourself, the less others seem to care? You explain, justify, and push yourself to be seen. But what if I told you that the moment you stop trying is when everything changes? That's why you should never waste your energy proving yourself to the wrong people. Think of it like this. Imagine an artist painting a masterpiece. While they're creating, no one pays attention to the brush strokes. But once the painting is finished and displayed, suddenly everyone claims they saw the vision all along. Or consider a button on your favorite shirt. It holds everything together, unnoticed until it pops off. Only then do people scramble to fix what they never appreciated in the first place. That's the power of silent confidence. While others are too busy dismissing you, you have a choice. Keep chasing their validation or rise in silence, letting your absence speak louder than your presence ever could. When you stop proving, that's when the shift happens. That's when they start to notice and regret sets in. So how do you walk away with power without explaining, proving, or saying a word? Stick with me until the end, because the final point will change everything. Let's dive in. Number 1. They've already made up their minds. Let's talk about one of the biggest mistakes people make, wasting time trying to prove themselves to those who have already decided who you are. You've probably been there before. No matter what you do, certain people will always choose to misunderstand you. They won't see your growth, intentions, or progress, not because they can't, but because they don't want to. Here's the truth. Some people are committed to their version of you, not the reality of who you truly are. If someone has already decided that you're not good enough, smart enough, or worthy of respect, no amount of proving will change their mind. They'll twist your actions to fit their narrative, no matter how hard you try. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If someone is able to show me I am wrong, I will gladly change." But seeking truth is more valuable than defending ego. A wise person is open to truth, even if it challenges their beliefs. But someone whose mind is already made up isn't interested in truth. They're interested in being right. Trying to convince them otherwise is a waste of energy. Take Adam, for example. He worked under a boss who had already decided he wasn't competent. No matter how well Adam performed, his boss found ways to criticize him. If Adam finished a project early, his boss accused him of rushing. If he took his time, he was called inefficient. Eventually, Adam realized his boss wasn't interested in seeing his real efforts. He'd already made up his mind. So instead of wasting more time trying to gain approval, Adam focused on what he could control: his work ethic, skills, and next move. He left that job and found a role where his contributions were valued. How to handle this? Stop explaining yourself. If someone has already decided who you are, let them believe whatever they want. It doesn't change your reality. Focus on people who actually matter. The right people don't need constant proof of your worth. Walk away when necessary. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your growth. At the end of the day, you can't change someone who refuses to see the truth. The best thing you can do is stop proving, stop chasing, and start living for yourself. The right people will recognize your value without you having to convince them. Reason number 2, your value doesn't depend on their approval. Let's talk about one of the biggest mistakes people make: seeking validation from the wrong people. It's natural to want recognition, to want others to see your worth and appreciate your efforts. But here's the problem. When you rely on external approval, you give others control over your self-worth. And the wrong people? They'll use that power against you. Here's the truth. Your value doesn't decrease just because someone else refuses to see it. Too often, people spend their lives trying to prove themselves, working harder, being more agreeable, and bending over backward just to earn the approval of people who don't even respect them. But no matter how much effort you put in, it's never enough. Why? Because the problem isn't you, it's them. Seneca once said, "A man cannot be comfortable without his own approval." In other words, the only validation that truly matters is your own. If your confidence is built on someone else's recognition, then the moment they withdraw it, your self-worth crumbles. But if you build your confidence from within, no one can take it from you. Take Sarah, for instance. She spent years trying to prove herself to a group of colleagues who never truly respected her. No matter what she did, they belittled her, ignored her ideas, or acted as if she wasn't good enough. One day she realized she was wasting her energy trying to win over people who had already decided not to value her. So she stopped seeking their approval, focused on her own standards and goals, and thrived. Not because they finally acknowledged her, but because she finally acknowledged herself. How to handle this? Recognize when you're giving away your power. If someone's opinion can shake your confidence, you've placed too much value on their approval. Redefine success on your own terms. Instead of asking, "Do they see my worth?" Ask, "Do I see my worth?" Remind yourself, your value is not up for debate. The right people will see it effortlessly, and the wrong ones don't matter. At the end of the day, you don't need their validation. You need your own. The moment you stop proving yourself to the wrong people is the moment you set yourself free. Real confidence comes from within, not from external approval. Quen 2.5 and max 3:08 p.m. Certainly. Let's continue refining and rephrasing the content, starting from reason number 3 in the second document. Reason number 3. Their judgment reflects their own insecurities. Let's talk about a truth that can set you free. When people judge or criticize you, it often has nothing to do with you and everything to do with them. You could be doing everything right, making progress, improving yourself, but some people will still find a way to criticize. Why? Because their judgment is a reflection of their own insecurities. Here's the truth. Their criticism says more about their mindset than it does about you. People who are unhappy with themselves will always project that negativity onto others. If they see you succeeding in an area where they failed, they'll downplay your achievements. If they feel insecure about their own abilities, they'll question yours. And if they've convinced themselves that something is impossible, they'll try to convince you of the same. Not because it's true, but because admitting otherwise would force them to confront their own fears. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them know the truth." Think about that. Just because someone has an opinion about you doesn't mean it's based on reality. Most people judge through the lens of their own experiences, fears, and limitations. Their doubts and negativity don't define you. They define them. Let me share a story. A woman I know, let's call her Emily, once told her friends she wanted to start a business. Instead of support, she was met with doubt. "Do you really think you can handle that? Most businesses fail, you know. Maybe you should stick to something safer." At first, their words made her second-guess herself, but then she realized something. None of these people had ever started a business themselves. They weren't speaking from experience. They were speaking from fear. Their words weren't a reflection of Emily's potential. They were a reflection of their own self-doubt. So how do you handle judgment from insecure people? Don't take it personally. Their words are about them, not you. Consider the source. Are they speaking from wisdom, or are they projecting their own limitations? Trust your own vision. Don't let someone else's insecurity define what you believe is possible for yourself. At the end of the day, small minds will always try to limit those who think bigger, but that's their problem, not yours. Keep growing, keep pushing forward, and let their insecurities stay where they belong with them. Reason number 4. Your actions speak louder than words. Let's talk about one of the biggest mistakes people make, wasting energy trying to convince others of their worth instead of focusing on becoming better. When someone doubts you, criticizes you, or refuses to see your value, the instinct is to defend yourself, to explain, to prove them wrong with words. But here's the thing. Arguing never changes the mind of someone who's already decided not to believe in you. Here's the truth. Instead of arguing your worth, focus on becoming the best version of yourself. Your success will do the talking. You don't need to convince people with words when your actions can make a stronger statement. The wrong people will always find a reason to doubt you, but the right people won't need an explanation. They'll see your value through what you do. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Think about that. Instead of debating, proving, or defending, just become the person you aim to be. Let your growth, resilience, and results speak, For themselves. The most powerful response to doubt isn't words, it's undeniable proof through action. Let me share a story. A guy I know, let's call him Daniel, had a boss who constantly overlooked him. No matter how hard he worked, his boss never acknowledged his effort. Instead of getting bitter or trying to argue his case, Daniel made a different choice. He put all his energy into becoming the best at what he did. He improved his skills, mastered his work, and became so effective that ignoring him was no longer an option. And guess what? One day his boss had no choice but to recognize his value, not because Daniel argued for it, but because his results were impossible to deny. So, how do you handle people who refuse to see your worth? Stop wasting time trying to explain yourself. People who don't want to see your value won't be convinced by words. Double down on your personal growth. The best way to prove yourself is to become so good that recognition becomes unavoidable. Remember, true success isn't about proving people wrong. It's about proving yourself right. At the end of the day, the loudest argument you can make is your success. Instead of trying to change someone's mind with words, let your actions tell the story. Because when you focus on your growth, there's nothing left to prove, only results that speak for themselves. Reason number 5. You drain your energy on the wrong people. Let's talk about a mistake that drains more energy than anything else, trying to prove yourself to people who will never truly respect or appreciate you. You push harder, explain more, and do everything in your power to earn their approval, but no matter what you do, it's never enough. They either move the goalposts, downplay your progress, or act indifferent to your efforts. And the worst part? While you're busy chasing their validation, you're neglecting the people who already see your worth. Here's the truth. Proving yourself to those who will never respect you distracts you from those who already do. There are people in your life, friends, mentors, supporters, who value you for who you are. But when you're consumed by trying to change the minds of those who don't, you miss out on the genuine relationships that actually matter. You waste time trying to impress the ones who tear you down, instead of growing with the ones who lift you up. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Seneca once said, "Surround yourself with those who make you better." That means focusing your energy on people who challenge you to grow, not those who make you feel like you're never enough. The right people will inspire you, support you, and push you to be better, not force you to constantly prove your worth, just to be acknowledged. Let me share a story. A guy I know, let's call him Leo, was stuck in a cycle of trying to earn the approval of a group of so-called friends who never really supported him. Whenever he achieved something, they downplayed it. Whenever he tried to express himself, they dismissed him. And yet he kept trying, hoping that one day they'd finally recognize his value. But then one day he realized something. While he was fighting for a place in their lives, there were other people who had been cheering for him all along, friends, who genuinely appreciated him, people who respected him without needing constant proof. That's when he made a decision. He stopped chasing approval where it would never come and started investing in the relationships that actually mattered. And guess what? His life changed. So, how do you stop draining your energy on the wrong people? Recognize when someone isn't worth your effort. If they constantly make you feel like you have to prove yourself, they're not the right people for you. Shift your focus. Instead of trying to be good enough for the wrong crowd, invest in the ones who already value you. Remember, your energy is limited. Spend it wisely. At the end of the day, you don't need to prove yourself to people who refuse to see your worth. The right people already know it. So stop chasing, stop proving, and start appreciating those who truly deserve your presence. Reason number 6. Confidence is silent. Insecurity seeks approval. Let's talk about a powerful distinction, the difference between confidence and insecurity. A truly confident person doesn't feel the need to announce their worth or constantly prove themselves. They move through life with quiet assurance, letting their actions speak for them. On the other hand, an insecure person craves validation at every turn, seeking approval, recognition, and external confirmation that they're good enough. But here's the catch. The more they chase it, the emptier they feel. Here's the truth. When you know your worth, you don't need to convince anyone else of it. Confidence isn't loud, It doesn't beg for attention or applause. It's reflected in your decisions, your consistency, and the way you carry yourself. Meanwhile, insecurity is always searching for reassurance, asking, "Do you see me? Do you approve of me?" The problem is, when you rely on others to confirm your worth, you give them control over your self-esteem, and the wrong people will use that against you. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Marcus Aurelius once said, "A wise man is content with himself." True confidence doesn't come from external validation. It comes from within. When you're secure in yourself, you don't need to prove anything to anyone. You let your work, your presence, and your consistency speak for themselves. Let me share a story. A woman I know, let's call her Sophia, used to constantly seek approval, whether it was in her career, friendships, or personal life. She felt the need to prove that she was worthy. She over-explained her actions, worked overtime just to impress people who didn't appreciate her, and always worried about what others thought. But one day she realized something. No amount of proving would ever satisfy the wrong people. The moment she stopped seeking validation and started focusing on her own goals, everything changed. She became more confident, more at peace, and, ironically, more respected, because she no longer needed approval. She simply was. So, how do you shift from seeking approval to embodying true confidence? Stop explaining yourself. Confident people don't over-justify their choices. They let their actions speak. Detach from external validation. The moment you stop craving approval, you regain control over your own self-worth. Trust yourself. Confidence isn't about being perfect. It's about knowing you're enough, regardless of what others think. At the end of the day, confidence is quiet because it doesn't need validation. When you trust yourself and know your value, you stop chasing approval and start living on your own terms. And that's the kind of confidence that truly lasts. Reason number 7, you become free when you stop seeking their validation. Let's talk about what real freedom looks like, letting go of the need for validation from people who don't matter. We grow up believing that if we work hard enough, explain ourselves well enough, or prove our worth, people will finally respect us. But here's the reality. Some people will never give you the validation you seek, not because you're unworthy, but because they benefit from keeping you doubting yourself. The more you chase their approval, the more power you give them over your peace. Here's the truth. The moment you stop proving yourself to the wrong people, you reclaim your peace and power. Think about it. How much energy have you wasted trying to impress people who never truly cared? How much time have you spent explaining yourself to those who never listened? How much have you sacrificed just to fit into spaces that were never meant for you? And what did you gain? Nothing but exhaustion. The longer you seek validation from the wrong people, the further you drift from your true self. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Epictetus once said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things beyond our control." And what's more out of your control than someone else's opinion? You can't force people to see your worth, and you can't make them appreciate you. But what you can do is stop seeking approval and start living for yourself. That's where real freedom begins. Let me share a story. A man I know, let's call him Ryan, spent years trying to win the respect of his father. No matter what he achieved, it was never enough. When he got a promotion, his father barely acknowledged it. When he accomplished personal goals, he was met with indifference. But every time he failed, his father had plenty to say. Ryan kept pushing, hoping that one day he'd hear the words, "I'm proud of you." But one day he realized something. He was chasing validation from someone who had already decided not to give it. That's when he made a choice. He stopped seeking approval and started living by his own standards. And for the first time, he felt free. So, how do you reclaim your freedom? Detach from opinions that don't serve you. If someone refuses to respect you, that's their issue, not yours. Define your own worth. The only approval that matters is the one you give yourself. Embrace the peace that comes with letting go. The less you care about seeking validation, the more energy you have to build a life that truly fulfills you. At the end of the day, real freedom isn't about being liked or accepted. It's about knowing you don't need anyone's validation to be whole. Stop proving, stop chasing, and start living for yourself, because that's where your true power lies. Final thoughts. When you stop trying to prove yourself to the wrong people, something incredible happens. You rise in silence, and your absence speaks louder than your presence ever could. The right people, the ones who truly value you, will notice. And the wrong people, they'll realize what they lost, but it'll be too late. Remember this, your worth isn't determined by someone else's recognition of it. It's determined by how you see yourself. So, focus on becoming the best version of yourself. Surround yourself with people who uplift you, and let go of those who drain your energy. Real confidence, real growth, and real freedom come from within. If you found this valuable, take a moment to reflect on how these insights apply to your own life. And remember, the moment you stop chasing validation is the moment you reclaim your power.